Okay, in the previous video we have created the markup, added the stylings, and now it's time for us to add the Alpine.js and make it totally functional. So let's think about it at first. So we got an input field here. When we are going to type something, then press enter or either click the add button. This is going to add an to-do item in the list, and there can be multiple items in the list. So what we can do is we can create an empty array, and when we are going to click the add button or press enter, this is going to add this item to that array. Okay, let's do it at first, then we are going to talk about other things. So let's create an Alpine component by using the X data, and inside the X data let's create an array named to-dos, and for now this is going to be totally empty. Okay, let's also create a variable named user input. This is also totally empty now. So what we are going to put in here, we are going to put it inside that user input. We can easily do that by using the X model by Alpine. It is going to be like two-way data binding. You already know about that. What we are going to put into this input field, it is going to be added in the user input. So let's use the X model here, and it is going to be user input. Okay, let's save. Now if we put something in here, this is going to put inside the user input. Now let's talk about the next issue. So as we have used the form tag in here, this is going to be like, if we click the add, this is going to refresh. You can see it in here. If we press enter, this is also going to be refreshing. So we don't want that. We can use the .prevent modifier of Alpine to stop this. So this is the event, and the event here is going to be the submit, because in here we are submitting the form, right? So submit.prevent, and it will prevent the default function of the form, which is reloading. If we now click the add or press enter, this is not going to happen. So we have prevented the submit event. Now when we are going to click the button here, this is going to add this user input inside the to-dos array, right? So let's do that. So in here, this is going to be an event. So this is a click event. When we are going to click it, we are going to push something in the to-dos array. So we are going to use the .push method of JavaScript. So we are going to push inside that array, and we can make that array kind of associative array. So let's use a name here. So this name will contain the to-do item. So this is going to be the user input. Let's save. Now if we just put something in here and click add, this is going to push it inside the to-dos array. We can, if you want, we can actually see it by using console.log and to-dos. Let's save, open up the console, and then put something in here, click add, and we got an array that contains the name of the item we have added. Okay, but there is a little bit issue here. Like if we don't put anything, just by focusing it and then click the add button, this is also going to put something in the array, which is going to be totally empty. And we can actually see that by actually adding it in the to-do list. We have added this to-do item by hard coding it, and we don't need that now. So we are going to delete that. But before that, what we are going to do here, we are going to loop inside the to-dos array and output it separately. So we are going to use the X4 directive of Alpine, but you already know that we cannot use the X4 with a div. So we have to use the template tag for it. So let's use the template tag, and also there should be only on child inside the template tag, and this div is the only on child. That's why I have created the div tag, which contains everything. Now let's put the ending template tag after the finishing div tag. Now let's run the X4 directive here. So x4, we are going to run the array. So for the single item, let's name it to do in to-dos. So to do will be the single item in the to-dos array. Now we are going to use the xtext directive to show it. So xtext, this is going to be like to do. So to do is this single item inside the to-dos array, and we just want the name. So to do dot name, let's save and type something out, press enter. This is going to add the list here. But the issue is, if we just focus it and click the add button, this is going to add an empty array also. So we need to prevent that. So how we can do that? Well, we can actually use an if function, or we can actually check it if the input field is empty or not. If this is empty, then we don't need to push anything. So let's use an if statement. If the user input dot length is going to be more than 0. So if this is empty, it is going to be 0, then it is going to return as false, then it is not going to run. But if there is something inside the user input, then the length will be more than 0. That means it will return as true and it will run. Let's save. Now if we click enter, add, nothing happens, right? So this is totally empty. But there is still an issue here. So if you just press space bar to create some space, then press enter, it is going to still add, because now they got 4 spaces in here. So we are going to use the dot trim method of JavaScript. So this is going to trim every space before the actual starting of the text. So if we save it, now if we try that again, it is not going to add anything. So if it is only going to add the text. So this is kind of done. Now let's see. So we got this upcoming to do, and we don't want this text if the to do list is empty. So we can use an xshow directive to hide it. So this is actually the same. We are going to check the length of the to do's array, and if it is like empty, then we don't need to show this, right? So let's use the xshow directive and to do's dot length. Now if the length is more than 0, then it is going to return as true, and xshow will be true, so it is going to be displayed. But if the length is 0, that means it is going to return as false, then it will be hidden. Let's save. Now it is hidden. The same thing applies for the delete all task button, because if there is no task, we don't want that button. So this is the button here. Let's add it. Now it should be empty, and it is. So we don't have anything unnecessary in here. Now let's talk about the next thing we are going to do. So if we got an element or items in the to-do list, if we click it, it is going to be completed. So it is also going to change the text in here. So, and we also want a strike through, a line through text decoration. So what we can do is, while we are going to click it, we can add a class with that. So let's do that. And in here I have created the user input, name user input. We can also add another one. So let's name it completed. And for now it is going to be false, but when we are going to mark this, this is going to be true. So this is the checkbox and this is the input. We are going to target this input because this is the real thing, right? This is just an S1 tag we have used to decorate it ourselves. We are going to again use the X model here. So if we click that, we are going to target the X model, and you already know that checkbox got two values, true and false. Now it is false, but if the checkbox is checked, then this is going to return true. So we are going to target the completed. So to do dot completed. Now if we check this, this is going to change the value here and the completed will be true. So what we can do is we can add a class with the span here, because this is containing the text, and we are going to add a style like line through. So let's do that. We are going to use the xbind directive and add a class with that. So the class name will be completed, and you can name it whatever we want. So for now I'm just going to add a class name of completed, and we only want to add this completed class if the todo dot completed is true. So when we are going to check mark this on, like click here, and this is going to return as true, and so this is going to return as true, so it will add the class of completed with that. So we can go to our CSS and add a completed class. This is a class, so let's put a dot here. So we are going to use a text decoration and line through. Now if we click it, this is going to add the class of completed with that, and also it is going to add the effect. Okay, now let's move on to the next thing, which is this numbers in here. So we need to show the completed task and total task. Let's do the later on first. So the total task here will be the length of the to-dos array, right? So we are going to use the xtext directive, and this is going to output the to-dos dot length. Let's save and see if it is works or not. Okay, it is working. Currently on task in here, press enter, to task. And also if we just put a random task and press enter, this is going to be in here, and we don't want that. So whenever we are going to submit the font by either pressing enter or add by clicking the add button, it should be empty. So this is the button we are going to use to submit. So instead of the console.log, let's make the to-dos empty. So now this is actually the user input, right? So user input should be totally empty, just an empty string. Let's say okay, now it is working. If we press enter, it is going to be totally empty. Also you can see the total number of tasks. Now we also need to show up the completed task in here. So we are going to use the filter method to filter through the to do and to see whether to do got if a to do got and completed true, then this is going to be in here, right? So I'm just going to show it to you. So xtext, and now we are going to filter through the to-dos array. So let's use the filter, and inside it let's use an arrow function. So to do will be the single item, so I'm just going to name it to do. Let's put the arrow and to do dot completed. Okay, now we got the to do dot completed. So if we click it, the to do dot completed is going to be true, and we are going to measure the length of that. Okay, to do dot length, let's save. Now it should work. Let's type out some random task in here, and after that we got 3 total tasks, completed task 0, but if we completed 2, this is going to show up. So this is working perfectly fine. Now we got 2 other things to do. So if we click the delete all task, this should remove everything. So let's handle that. So in here the event will be click. So x on click, we want the values of the to-dos array to be totally empty, nothing else. Now if we put some task and then click the delete all task, this is going to be empty. We have only on other things to do. So if we click the cross icon, it should be removed. So this is the remove, and again we are going to use the click event, and on click we want to change the values of the to-dos. So we are going to click on a task, and this task should be removed from the to-dos array, right? So now let's say to-dos dot filter. We are going to filter through the to-dos array. Let's use an variable here. Let's name it current to do, and again we are going to use the array function just like we have done before in here. So current to do, if this is not equal to the to do. So what this means is that we are going to assign a value to the to-dos array by filtering through the to-dos. Now if we click on particular to-do list item, and it should be removed from the to-dos array, because now while we are going to check this, so for now the to-dos will have only the values that is not equal to the to-do we have clicked, right? Now let's save and put some random to-dos and then click the cross icon. This is going to be removed. Okay, so I think everything here is working. We got the add button working. We can either press enter, it is also going to add. If we click the delete all tasks, this is going to remove everything. We can mark items as done, and this is showing us the completed task and also the total task. Okay, so this is the project, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I have created this project so that you can actually add it in your portfolio. So I have done all the stylings and stuffs because I am also going to add this project in my portfolio about Alpine.js, and also I am planning on creating an UI toolkit using Tailwind CSS and Alpine. So after doing it, I'm just going to share the link with you in the next article. So thank you for following me for this long time. I hope you learned something. So take care and bye.